Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spot Convention with the Weekly Comic Book Roundup. We've covered most of this week's Marvel books, and now it's on to, well, the end of the Marvel line. The end of the line for Marvel, I should say, for, this week. Kicking things off, we've got Daredevil, Woman Without Fear, number 3. The final issue of the Dark Reign, or Devil's Reign tie-in miniseries. Where we left off, Kraven and Daredevil, Elektra, were fighting out in front of Columbia University, and the Thunderbolts had taken her and Matt Murdock's old college buddy Goldie prisoner. And, in a cruel twist, Kraven revealed he had been recruited into the Thunderbolts as well. So we begin with Matt and Elektra talking about the fact that even when she was at Columbia, she was trying to recruit him. And he's actually not mad. Because of that, the two of them are together. They've known each other, If it weren't for her trying to recruit him into the Hand, they would never have met. So you can't be mad about that. The fight continues the fight goes on between Elektra and Kraven. And Goldie interrupts the fight a little bit by throwing a snowball at Kraven, giving Elektra enough time to run into one of the buildings. But Kraven follows, and Elektra's able to get the drop on him. He's utilizing the dark. And but their fight is interrupted by Aka, who shows that she's not a hallucination, she's actually real, and Aka chides Elektra for trying to bring down the Hand, adding that the Hand makes the world run. It's just within them, their fingers gently cradling it. But Aka manages to escape, as does Elektra by borrowing some clothes from a student. Afterwards, she runs into Goldie, and Goldie passes along some bad news to Elektra. Apparently, Matt was dead, murdered in his apartment. And the main suspect is Mayor Fisk. Apparently, this is something that will be happening in Devil's Reign issue 5. Elektra pulls out her sai and sharpens it against the wall. And she tells Goldie that she's going to kill Mayor Fisk. And adding to herself that the only person who could stop her from doing so is dead. And that's not quite. That's where the primary story ends. However, we have follow-up 2 weeks later. Aka talking to one of the Hand elders. And said elder introduces Aka to the new leader of the Hand, Frank Castle, setting up the upcoming new Punisher title. And that is where the issue ends. As well as the series. It was a good 3-issue series. I wish that this had come out after Devil's Reign #5. It would, I hate the fact that I'm not gonna have to wait to see how how the whole thing with the death of Matt Murdock plays out. But yeah, anyway, moving on to our next book, we've got Devil's Reign X-Men #2. Where we left off in the present, Wilson Fisk tried to evict the X-Men from the treehouse. However, it was declared a basically diplomatic ground, so couldn't actually be nothing could be done about it. In the past focusing more on Emma's time as a fixer for Fisk. As a telepath, she was often able to convince witnesses to change their minds, various small things to help Fisk out. It was said he had two angels, basically, Emma and Elektra. However, after Elektra took care of a mess for Fisk, she was seen by a small child. Now, apparently that small child has disappeared, and Emma is now in the is now being implicated in the child's disappearance. And we open with a quote from Wilson Fisk. When observing Frost, make sure the photographer has the absolute minimum of information and the longest lens available. Distance will serve us well, Mr. Wesley. So she's talking with her lawyers about what's happening. Apparently, she, in order to secure some capital, telepathically impersonated Sue Storm, chatted Tony Stark in a bar, had a chat with Nick Fury while Fury was handcuffed to a bed. Made some telepathic suggestions to Jennifer Walters. Normal stuff. But when it comes to the night in question, at the old Hellfire Club, Elektra comes to see her. That she needs Emma's help. And Elektra explained she was seen while working. And Emma thinks that sounds like terrible news for the poor, and she's cut off when Elektra explains it was a child. Emma sees the child and is apparently at a loss for words. But they go to get the child, and but there are cops, and Elektra has a very simple solution: let her loose on them. No one else. There's no one they can call. However, that's not entirely true, as Emma managed to get Spider-Man to come help. And so Spider-Man and Elektra work on subduing the cops. And Emma learns telepathically tries to figure out what it is that Spider-Man's going to want out of the whole thing, and also learns of Spider-Man, of everything that Peter's been through. Gives him a kiss on the cheek, thanks him for what he does, and has him cover their escape, and forget any of this happened. But Emma gets the kid into a limousine, and a photographer snaps pictures of Emma with the child, with the photo is placed in in Emma's file. But a handful of things that apparently she has been involved in at the behest of Fisk include bank fraud, insider trading, witness tampering, sports fixing, and Ponzi schemes. In the present, Emma takes a gate to England, or to London. Even though England is no longer friendly to Krakoa, there's a gate in the London Hellfire Club. Local police are dealt with. However, Emma didn't count on Union Jack running along. And he's got a side blocker, so she can't deal with him telepathically. And uses a grenade with a gas grenade, which basically makes it so she can't use her powers, and takes her into custody. And the issue ends with Union Jack asking her if she seriously killed an orphan. I'm liking the Devil's Reign X-Men series. Recent issues of Marauders have kind of hinted at there having been a past connection between Emma Frost and Wilson Fisk, and it's nice kind of seeing it played out. The bit with Spider-Man was also real nice. I will admit, it's kind of it does feel a bit odd to see the modern interpretation of Emma Frost in a flashback, like the way she's written now, as opposed to the way she was written in the 1980s. So yeah. And moving on to our next book, our last Devil's Reign time, we've got Devil's Reign Spider-Man. And as you can tell from the cover, this is dealing with Ben Reilly. So, where we left off, the Thing and the Human Torch had sprung Spidey from the NYPD. However, shortly after they did, Marcus showed up to get Spidey, and is almost arrested himself for in the hopes that maybe they can tell the NYPD who he is. Ben and Johnny drop off the Thing and Human Torch drop off Spidey at Beyond Tower, but there appears to be a Thunderbolts officer waiting, and he's taken down, put in power dampeners, and loaded into a van. But meanwhile, the Rose is narrating the entire thing. The Rose is Richard Fisk, the son of Wilson Fisk. And the Rose kidnaps Marcus. But one of the Thunderbolts officer that's taken Spidey into custody lets slip that they're actually criminals, and Ben manages to get out. Just heavily damages the van using the weapon that dude had, and heads to the Beyond Tower and gets Ginny to let him in since his hands are still cuffed. But the two Thunderbolts officers turn out to be under the employ of the Rose. They're supposed to be bringing Spider-Man to him. he sends them out to find him, and then goes to talk to Marcus. Ben's given a check up, see how he's doing, and Maxine tells him to suit up and explains that the weapon that the Thunderbolts officer was using is shield tech, designed to go after the Hulk. And so they brought in a couple of helpers for the. They brought in some contractors to help Spidey find Marcus and take care of the weapons. Misty Knight and Colleen Wing, who explained that they found out that the Rose managed to get a massive cache of old shield weapons and is renting them out to local gangs for a monthly fee. Crime's on a subscription model now. But back with the Rose and Marcus doesn't talk. Much to the Rose's chagrin. But he figures he has a use for Marcus after all. Making an anonymous tip to the NYPD about where Spider-Man is hiding. But Maxine gets in touch with Spidey as he's web swinging and asks if he would have to be getting arrested at the moment, and, well, he's not. So she suggests he goes to East Village, where a rather large man in a Spider-Man costume is surrounded by Thunderbolts officers. Ben shows up, saves the day, and it's Marcus in the suit. The Rose shows up to take Spidey into custody, having outfitted the Spidey suit with electrodes. But Marcus takes down the Rose with one of the taser batons belonging to the Thunderbolts officers, and they put the Rose in the Spider-Man costume. Marcus thanks Ben for coming to save him, and Ben says, of course, it's part of being a friend. And the Rose is brought before the NYPD, dressed as Spider-Man. And that is where the issue ends. A fun little one-shot. I tend to have a soft spot for Spider-Man one-shots when it comes to big events, because usually most of the tie-ins to a big event are extremely serious and focused on. But usually the Spider-Man tie-ins to big events tend to be a little bit more bring some levity to the whole situation. Moving on to our next book, though, we've got Amazing Spider-Man number 91. Where we left off, Ben and Peter had gone to the Staten Island facility, home of the supervillain program, which, it should be noted, Miles had already been to with Shift. They find some of the various creations of the supervillain program. None look all that bad. They the Spider-Man's web them up. However, Ben's having trouble having some troubles with all of the stuff that's been done with his mind by the Beyond Corporation. They face off against some nasty-looking attack chihuahuas. And Maxine is making plans to basically make sure that whatever happens at the Staten Island facility isn't a problem. But in the middle of everything, Misty and Colleen burst in their car. And they deal with more of the four of them deal with more of the various critters, since Misty and Colleen did kind of let them loose. when you crash to the roof and everyone's webbed to the roof, well, yeah. But Maxine tries to prevent Ben from basically triggering everything, and well, since she doesn't want him to, Ben figures the best thing to do is to trigger it. So yeah. But a door opens and Peter, Misty, and Colleen are face to face with the lizard. Bigger and much less I won't say talkative, but bigger and well, kind of scarier than before. And that is where the issue ends. Beyond's been great. I like the fact that while it's been a fairly long storyline, I like that it hasn't felt like a long storyline. You know, like never did it feel like it was spinning its wheels. Everything felt like it was. Every issue felt like it had its place. So yeah. Anyway, moving on to our next book, we've got What If Miles Morales #1. What if Miles Morales became Captain America? On an alternate Earth, Miles' dad and his uncle Aaron were stationed at where they were going to be doing super soldier testing, and Uncle Aaron appropriated a canister of the serum, which Miles found in his fridge, and well, he super soldiered out. Uncle Aaron ended up becoming part of his strike team, but a rocket fired at their chopper by Black Widow led to the death of Uncle Aaron. In the present, Miles is still Cap. He's got a partner, Falcon. It's Starling. But they're trying to stop the Prowler and some mercs from stealing something from a decommissioned AIM facility. However, the Prowler's got a backup plan and blows the facility, allowing the mercs to escape. Afterwards, Cap and Falcon are discussing what happened with S.H.I.E.L.D. director Sam Wilson, who talks a little bit about the Prowler, body count spread across the globe, professional mercenary, and then there's the head of the whole operation, Gray Skull, aka Lonnie Ludwig Lincoln, Tombstone. A former AIM director turned arms dealer who went rogue after injecting himself with a stolen super soldier serum AIM was developing, gave him powers similar to Miles's, but AIM's serum wasn't as refined. But what was taken from the decommissioned base was an artifact of immense power. Powerful enough that they've sought help from Gank Lee, the Tinkerer, top of his class at MIT, Harvard, and ESU, PhD in quantum networking. Reports say he's building some kind of interface. But Miles is apparently living the college life. Video chatting with his parents on occasion, but mission's on. Decommissioned Gray Skull is going to try and utilize something at a decommissioned Oscorp facility. Transdimensional fracker. The Oscorp facility is defended by some robots with symbiotes. a sonic bomb from the Prowler manages to make them less useful. And it turns out that the artifact stolen from the AIM facility was a cosmic cube. But Cap and Falcon show up, take care of them. Prowler's revealed to be Uncle Aaron. The fracker's activated, and Miles gets to look at some alternate versions of himself. Wolverine, Thor, Hulk, and Spider-Man. But uses his shield to destroy the cube. Tombstone's blown up. Uncle Aaron managed to get away. Apparently, Uncle Aaron had been hiding out for the last few years, kind of making peace with the fact that he wasn't going to be Captain America, but rather Miles was. Later, Uncle Aaron shows back up at the Oscorp facility and snags a shard of the cosmic cube. And that is where the issue ends. And apparently, so this is going to be a 5-issue miniseries. Looks like we're getting a issues 2, 3, and 4 are going to be individual other Earths. Number 2 is Wolverine. Number 3 is Hulk. I guess number 4 will be Thor. Number 5 will bring all of them together. I assume this will also be tying into what happened last in the Miles Morales solo book, wherein him and Miles and Shift entered a dimensional doorway to find Uncle Aaron. Moving on to our last book for a moment, though, we've got Strange, number 1. Doctor Strange is dead, and Clea is the new Sorcerer Supreme. So we begin with Clea facing off against the Harvestman, who states that she will not resurrect Stephen Strange. That morning, earlier that morning, Doom paid a visit, demanding that she turn over the Eye of Agamotto and the Cloak of Levitation. And she says, no. Stephen wanted me name me the new Sorcerer Supreme, so eat it. Wong has, for the last few weeks, been going out and getting drunk regularly. He lost his best friend, after all. But there's a goblin market in the way in New York. Wong and Clea go. It's called the Shrouded Bazaar. Apparently, talking to a smith there, Clea is informed that the Kingpin tried to take over, to run the bazaar, but magic was too tricky for him. The Hood tried, but even he understood magic, even he understood magic less well than he had thought. There's a group called the Blasphemy Cartel that came around, thinking they'd fold, and the Blasphemy Cartel returns, and Clea kills most of them, rather gruesomely, I might add, in some cases. Takes one of them prisoner for interrogation purposes. And earlier, Clea said she was intended to bring Stephen back from the dead. Wong was like, okay, rather than trying to talk her out of it, which she figured he would. So they're going to try and figure out how to do it. But something goes off. Someone is crossing. Basically, a spell that Clea cast goes off, stating that someone is crossing into the lands of the living. She figures it must be. She's going to see if it's Stephen or not. Instead, it's the Huntsman. and the Huntsman has also brought someone back to deal with Clea. Eric Masterson, the late Eric Masterson, formerly known as Thunderstrike. And that is where the issue ends. All right. I'm liking this book so far. Jed McKay writing helps. So, but yeah. Anyway, that's gonna do it for now. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off, saying, live long and rock hard.